Hi there, my name is David and I'm a web developer, and I call my media group Reality Magic Media. And what I want to do today is do a short intro video where I talk a little bit about my work, the philosophy of my work, what I'm doing and why. And I apologize if this goes on a little longer than I would like. Obviously listen as long as you want, take away what you need, and then if at some point you feel like you've gotten enough information, just feel free to shut it off. Obviously I'll try to keep it at a YouTube length, but I could go on a little bit, especially towards the end as I really get into it. So as I mentioned, I'm a web developer. I've actually been working with technology for more than 30 years. Web development technology more recently. I'm focused mainly on open source technology, so I'm working with PHP and jQuery principally. There are of course a lot of other great web development technologies, but as you know, it's important to specialize. It's hard to know a lot about everything, so this is kind of where I've laid my focus. So why Reality Magic Media, and what's my philosophy? So I call it Reality Magic Media because of the concept of reality magic. So the idea is we live in this reality, and if you don't really understand how it works, everything seems kind of like magic. All this just amazing stuff is happening, either what seems to be naturally or at the hands of others, and you're just like, wow, like how did they do that? But once you start to get a handle on how the reality works, you can actually start creating what's called reality magic, and this is where you really are productive. You're making great things happen, and other people are like, wow, how do I get involved? How do I buy that? How do I participate? So obviously the same principle applies with web development. If you're going to develop on the web, if you can really get into an understanding of the tools and the process, you can start creating this incredible magic on the web. And you know what I'm talking about if you've ever seen a really great website, one that just inspires you, one you say, well, for my next web project, I want it to look just like that. So, Reality Magic Media. So let me talk a little bit, before I get into too much into the technology, let me also talk about like the process, like how do I approach a project. So I'm actually a little bit stronger on the back end than I am on the user interface, although I'm pretty solid on the user interface as well, but I'm not really a designer. And I understand design elements to a fair extent. So what I like to do with a lot of my projects is either I'll team up with a designer or UI developer, or if they're not available or if it's not really called for the project, I can go to themeforest.net and just find the absolute best starting template to build that site, whether it's the front end or the back end. And what I really like about those templates is for about $20 on average, $20, $30 on maybe on the high end, you basically jumpstart the entire user interface. You get this incredible interface, and you get other bonuses like responsiveness, which is really important. So basically right out of the box, for $20 you have a site that'll look great on iPhone, Android, iPad, and all of them. And all you have to do is make your content work. So that's how I like to start, either with that or working directly with a designer or design team. And then basically I can just go to town and build all the back-end components. A lot of them I already have. I have done some video platform integration, some e-commerce components, Twitter API, Facebook. So a lot of those components I already have in my library, and I'm going to talk a little about that in a second when I get to my framework. So the process of building an app can actually go a lot faster, and that's great for you, of course, because it means you're going to pay less. And it's important to understand that, because when you go to Elance, for example, there's just so many different price ranges, and you're like, a lot of people are like, well, why don't I just pay like $5, $10 an hour for this guy over in such and such a country? And I'm not necessarily saying all those guys who charge such a low rate are bad, but you have to understand that sometimes if you spend a higher rate per hour, but you get the stuff done faster and at better quality, in the end it's going to cost you less. Both, if not at least in the initial project, then certainly down the stream, where you don't have to keep redoing things, hiring more developers, spending more time to fix and upgrade, or throw out the entire thing and start over, which is of course a horrendous cost that can happen and has happened many times. Okay, so that's kind of the process, and then I just get into it. I'm also really good with the database, so if you need a data model, I do data modeling. I can just pretty much build everything and then just put the skin on it, put the interface on it, either working with your own design or working with like a template, like I said. And I build a lot of testing into all my components, what's called unit testing and other types of testing. So everything can be tested over and over again to make sure it's going to work, it's not breaking, it's not changing, it's solid. Now let me talk about the code and my methodology. So I've actually developed a framework called XObjects. If you either directly or through your other developers have ever seen or worked with frameworks like Cake PHP, like Zend, Yi, CodeIgniter, any of those, and I'm not saying if I like one more over the other, but just those are the examples. If you worked with any of those, Symfony, then XObjects is probably going to be pretty familiar to you. So what I've done is I've actually developed this framework over the last 3 years, and I've worked with a lot of those other frameworks, and I've taken and borrowed the best ideas, the things that I liked most about each of those frameworks, and incorporated it into my own. And I've also just become a zealot about like simplicity, make it like simple, elegant, easy to do, easy to change, easy to extend, very modular, fun, I would say like fun, and therefore fast and efficient. So, and it's important that it be fun. Let's just be clear about that as part of my core philosophy. If it's not fun, it's not good work, and it's probably not going to be done well. So it has to be fun, and that's like a pillar. It is a pillar. So XObject is this framework I developed. It's based on the MVC, or Model View Controller paradigm. So everything is segregated out nicely. You can quickly snap in new pages, new layouts, new views, new controllers, new database elements. I mean, it's so simple. You basically build a new database table, and boom, within like a minute, you're already like working with it within the application. That's how simple I've made it. Same thing with adding APIs. Like if someone says, oh, I want to integrate this new video platform. Well, it turns out I've already done Limelight, so let's do Brightcove, for example. And it's probably not more than like a half an hour's work, assuming their API is well documented. So we're talking lightning fast here. And the framework has a lot of, like I said, it's basically includes a library. Obviously not everything can be kept in the library because things are constantly being updated, but it relies on the library. And it also relies on the front end on jQuery. So we're always using the latest version of jQuery to get those nice user effects. Sometimes we might replace an old component with a new one, but it's there, it's solid, it's under version control. You can always grab the latest. You can use the same XObjects for multiple projects, and I use it for all my projects. So I've kind of gone over a couple things. I've talked about my philosophy, I've talked about my experience, where I'm focused on, what I'm using, the tools. Hopefully I've covered it all here. Maybe I'll do some other videos that kind of break out some more details. But hopefully this gives you like a nice intro of who I am and makes you think, well, maybe I could work with this guy on a project. Please check out my profile, my stats, my portfolio. Ask me to send you some more current updates. Sometimes I can't publish a site that's under progress, but under an NDA I could show you some new stuff that I'm working on. You know how clients can be sensitive, but we can work it out. Now, as a little bonus here, for those of you who hung out all the way to the end of this video, I just wanted to throw this in. If anyone can guess where I am right now, in other words, what this location is, you'll just reference coupon code GUESS1 and you're going to get $50 off your first project as long as the project's worth at least $500 in total. Doesn't matter the other terms. So if it's $500 or more for the whole project, once it's said and done, if you can guess exactly where I am and no cheating, then you get $50 off, no questions asked. Just mention GUESS1. And hey, I sure appreciate you listening to me rambling on a little bit. Hope we get to work together. Thanks.